Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tyler Matheson of CNBC, and it's afternoon in the East Coast, about 2:30, 2:32 here, and wherever you are, we're glad you're able to join us for our continuing webinar series. Today's topic, Competitive Edge Technologies for Advanced Manufacturing. Once again, our presenter is Professor Kevin Lyons of the Rutgers University Business School here in the state of New Jersey. He is a professor of supply chain management and marketing sciences at the university. We'll be taking your questions at the end of Kevin's presentation. It's really simple to do, and we encourage you to do so. You type your question where on your screen you see the word questions, and then you click send. The questions then come up in a queue here, and we will pose them for you so that you can get them answered. With that, again, thank you for joining us for the webinar series, and I turn it over to Professor Kevin Lyons.
Thank you, Tyler, and thank you all for participating in today's webinar. What I'm going to present to you today is on the topic of the competitive edge technologies for advanced manufacturing. And what I'd like to do is give you a short presentation today that will just highlight some of the technologies, some of the opportunities, some of the resources that are available to you if you're in this space. So let's get started. At the bottom of the first slide, I have just a short quote. This sort of lays out what this is all about. Manufacturing that entails rapid transfer of science and technology into the manufacturing of products and services. So the process of actually applying new and emerging technologies to your process in order to make the product better and get it faster to the marketplace is what we're going to talk about today. A brief overview of what we're going to talk about. This is a presentation that I've put together that looks at a small to mid-size manufacturing operation, whether or not you yourself are the manufacturer or whether or not you are seeking opportunities to partner with an entity that's a manufacturer. Some of the things that you can look for in order to make sure that this is something that will be positive for your bottom line, as well as understanding the emerging and new technologies that are out there. This is going to be a short presentation. I tried to cover as much as I possibly could, but I'm going to be moving fairly fast, but the presentation itself will be available to you after the webinar. I'm going to talk briefly about auditing and assessments of your operation, the competitive advantage, some funding opportunities, as well as some research tools that we're developing that could help you. And then lastly, a final thought on resources and research opportunities. Just another quote, manufacturing accounts for 70% of the private sector research and development, 60% of that being exports, including a record $1.2 trillion exported in last year. If you're looking more local, and I'm sure that depending on which state you're from, this is a New Jersey statistic. New Jersey companies have a single-day access to over 40% of the U.S. population. So 40 million people who purchase $2 trillion in merchandise each year is the perspective that was written by a report that was published just a couple months ago. So for a definition of advanced manufacturing, I wanted to throw this out there. It basically makes an extensive use of computer and high-tech processes and technology software to integrate into your manufacturing process so you can look at the finished product as being highly produced in a way that gets it out to the marketplace in a rapid way so the customer's demands are being met. But can you do that in a way that is responsible, both financially as well as the product quality, and making sure that your customers are satisfied? So let's start off with a quick assessment. Some of the things that you can look for to make sure that your operation is doing what you would like it to do. What we research and what I'm very focused on is the process itself, the fabrication and integration of delivery systems, making sure that the waste as well as the defects are minimized in that process, and you're always constantly looking for improvements. The use of computer technology and software to integrate into your process, making sure that high performance computing is actually doing a benefit to you and not being something that's a burden. The production and automation process, inventory and warehousing, there's a lot of robotic technology that's out there that's helping to enhance that process. One area that's very, very important that generally gets overlooked is the actual workforce themselves and making sure that they are qualified in understanding this technology in the manufacturing process and that the workers themselves are considered assets. And I'm going to talk just briefly about the Department of Labor initiatives that you can take advantage of to make sure that your existing and any new employees you bring into the space are well qualified to take on these types of challenges. Customer service, supplier relationship obviously is very important. Control systems and monitoring your process to make sure everything is going the way that you want, and to be able to scale up or down when the demand is at its height or at its low, and making sure that you're responsive there. Some technology areas to be considered in the human resources, of course, talking about talent again and what you're bringing into your operation. Computer-aided type technologies, whether it's computer-aided design, engineering, or manufacturing. Production technology, looking at how your items are being assembled and put together and whether or not you have the best technology that's out there. And there's a list of opportunities that I'm providing at the end of the presentation for you. Different types of robotics, and when you talk about robotics, it's everything from human-size operations that are going into your warehouse and picking all the way down to small-scale robotic operations. Radio frequency identifications are used quite extensively now, and they're being improved almost monthly, it seems. One area that you can look at, and I put on just as an example, is the Volkswagen plant out of Tennessee that uses a lot of these technologies, and there's several videos that you can see online where they actually utilize a lot of good high-end technology to minimize waste as well as get the production process in line. Inline and in-time production, supplier-driven customer demand technology, on-site applications where waste as well as energy are being maximized, monitoring your performance software that actually looks at this, and one that I'm going to talk just briefly about is condition-based maintenance, being able to identify flaws in your mechanical and a manufacturing process before it becomes an issue that will cost you a significant amount of funds. And then, of course, demand forecasting, being able to look at software that looks at what is your potential marketplace and how can you adjust your manufacturing process to meet those demands. Some competitive edge technologies, just to keep this rolling a bit. We have next generation optoelectrics, looking at telecommunications and how to better that. A lot of work that's being looked at as far as energy reducing technologies and telecommunications and data storage. Structural materials, a lot of nanotechnology. I know it's a theme that's been thrown out there, and it seems very high-tech, and it's only for the high-tech industry, but nanotechnology is being used by small to mid to even large-scale operations. I've listed some of the areas where it's being used the most, and this is materials, the different types of materials that are being used to produce different types of products. Biomanufacturing, the idea of integrating sustainability into your manufacturing process, making sure that you're efficient as well as producing a high-quality product that is economically responsible. And then lastly, looking at renewable and sustainable fuels manufacturing, a huge emerging area where fuels are being produced by a whole array of bio-based materials, including waste. Next, what I have is some resources for you. If you want to go down the route of looking at whether or not your auditing and assessment processes, I have a nice site here at the university that looks at industrial assessments. And so what you can do is do an assessment, and then this assessment will provide you with some recommendations on where you can make some critical changes. And here's just a couple of screenshots. Here's an assessment where you can plug in some of the data that you are currently operating, and with that information, it'll assess it and provide you with some recommendations on where you can go with your existing technologies or whether or not you can add, and then some approximations of costs that are associated with those changes. The next thing is to look at what are the top 10 energy recommendations. There are some things that you can do within your operations to help bring down your energy portfolio, which is a huge cost, especially if it's a process and or operation that's running consistently or 24/7. Being able to reduce significantly your energy portfolio in your operations is critical. And these assessment centers, there's one, of course, headquartered at Rutgers University where I'm employed, but here's a map that shows you some of the locations where you can go to work with other institutions that can provide these types of services. In addition to that, there are institutes that allow you to get further information and training at low cost to improve upon your processes. So the New Jersey portion of this, which is also located at our university, is the New Jersey Advanced Manufacturing Institute. And basically the profile of these institutes, which are also throughout the United States, are to help you identify specific ways in your particular industry of how you can improve and make economic development part of the overall state strategy and how you fit into that. Real quickly, here are some competitive advantage solutions that you might want to take a peek at. What I have here are a list of ideas, some goals that you might have in mind. Obviously, down the left-hand side are all the goals that you would like to achieve. Something as simple as that you want to make what you have better, the products, services, making things cheaper, making things faster, and then looking at some of the strategies that are employed both in the United States, in Japan, and some of the opportunities that you can have that I've thrown in just to give you an idea of where you can take this to the next level. This continues with how you can become more agile, new product development, and the same strategies looking here in the U.S. and what's going on and what's been very, very successful both here and as well as Japan, both leading in the manufacturing processes. Of course, there's good examples worldwide, but here are a few that I think are worth noting. And then in the opportunities area, I just wanted to give you an idea of what you can look for as part of the next generation of opportunities. And one area that I'm very focused on is that extended supply chain relationship that you have. You've manufactured the goods, it's now in the customer's hands or the consumer, and how can you make that product even more valuable once that exchange from your operation to the consumer's hands takes hold, and whether or not the consumer has the experience that you want them to have, and whether or not the waste, for instance, from that product can be re-entered back into the manufacturing process as part of that relationship. I want to talk just briefly about condition-based maintenance, which is a philosophy that you can take a look at different types of sensors and modeling that will allow you to look at your manufacturing equipment and look for ways to identify potential faults or problems with that equipment as it's functioning and identify a potential failure before it actually even happens. This is something that's critical, and out of all the research that I've looked into, is the largest cost reduction strategy that you can employ. If your operation is not moving at the pace that you need it to move and responding to the demands of your customers, any failure in the equipment is costing you an incredible amount of money, as well as the cost to repair as well. So there's software that can be employed that identifies the potential risk associated with your processes. This technology is very well sound. It was created and adopted in 1994 by a group out of Penn State. And we have, of course, some faculty at the university at Rutgers that are looking into this as well. So the final a thought on this is controlling costs through efficient planning and effective maintenance. Now for some funding opportunities. The first one I wanted to point out is labor. The United States Department of Labor, the Employment and Training Administration, has grants that are available for ensuring that your employees, existing and or new ones coming on board, are in line with and in tune with your movement towards the advanced manufacturing process. And just to highlight what this program is all about, there's training for innovation, pipeline development, meaning identifying potential candidates early on in the process, as well as training and cross-training your existing employees. Career awareness. There's an awareness that unfortunately is lacking about working in manufacturing, that it's not as attractive. But with the technology and the types of products and the ways that your operation touches the worldwide population, getting folks to understand that this is a highly skilled, highly important, very critical part of the economy is something that is lacking, I think needs to be brought up to speed. Immigration type issues and making sure the workers are fully embraced in actually working with your company and showing value. Skills, competency, small business issues that arise. As a small business, you might not have time to be looking into advanced technologies, and this is a grant that will allow you to do that. Existing work training, and then looking up and down your supply chain for opportunities as well. The U.S. federal government also has several grants that are available with sizable amounts that you can use to adopt and integrate advanced technologies into your operations. So I identified a couple. This was an announcement that was made just last year, still vibrant, still open, still looking for small businesses to participate. The next one was just announced about a week ago. It's dealing with the U.S. Federal government again, the Advanced Manufacturing Jobs and Innovation Acceleration Challenge, a $26 million opportunity. Several federal government agencies working together to provide funding for both the public and private sector, and there is a section there for the private sector to be involved in obtaining some of these funds as well. One area, as I had mentioned earlier, clean energy manufacturing, looking at the next generation of fuels and whether or not you want to get in that space. Down in the blue area, I have given you some information about a previous webinar we gave on alternative energy for some information if you want to go back in time to just a couple weeks ago. Take a look at that. The university is working as well on the next generation of fuels, so if you'd like information on that, we'll be able to provide that, and there might be some business development opportunities for manufacturing around that, as well as this whole concept of design and manufacturing for our consumers in local energy production as well. The next big idea that I have is looking at the idea of manufacturing goods and services that can in turn, after consumer use, be used to be reintegrated back into the production of energy. This is something that we're now taking to a whole nother level, looking at manufacturing as a way to not only produce goods and services, but also to provide for feedstock for those waste items to go back into the manufacturing process. And just one quick example of that is looking at fuels. This is a partnership between the university, waste management, a small business manufacturing entity, Mack Truck Volvo, working together to produce liquid natural gas out of landfill methane. So collaboration of folks getting together to do something I think was pretty amazing. And the next phase of this is something that was just announced 2 weeks ago. Waste Management is building a facility in Northeast Philadelphia to now look at the idea of taking garbage, all garbage, which currently is landfilled and or incinerated, but taking it to a process facility which will shred it into bits, get it into little pieces, which then can be feedstock for the production of energy. That was an announcement that was just made last week. As I'm wrapping up, I'm going to show you a couple of tools that we're developing that will be available to you in the fall for you to assess your current operations and whether or not your manufacturing process is going along the lines that you want it. So everything from performance measurements, how your suppliers are actually working with you and how they're interacting and whether or not they're being productive enough to make sure that your manufacturing process is working well. Identifying tax issues that might impact your operation as well as policy issues that also could affect the direction of your manufacturing process. getting involved in research, whether it's Rutgers or any other institution, to help you along this path. I know this is a lot of information to try to absorb, but the public research institutions are there to assist you. Everything from new product development and what's on the horizon, or actually looking at your existing manufacturing process and the products that you're producing and making sure that you have products that are easily integrated into society, as well as an opportunity to improve your manufacturing processes to make you much more effective. Some resources that I've listed here, there's many, many more, but I just wanted to highlight a few that you can get immediate information on integrating new technologies as well as processes into your existing operations. And here are a few. Everything from our supply chain management system to advanced manufacturing systems and institutes that can help you there. Small business development centers, the one that I work at, the Rutgers Eco Complex, provides the hands-on level of assistance to small businesses in this area, as well as some of the federal and state government operations as well. And lastly, there's my contact information. So if you need any additional further information on anything that you see within the slide presentation, or if you want to continue the conversation well beyond the webinar, I'll be more than happy to assist you there. Thank you.
Professor Lyons, thank you very much. And we'll get to questions from the webinar participants in just a moment. And again, you can submit your questions by typing them in the area on the screen where it asks for questions and then hitting send. Kevin, let me go back to one of your earlier slides where it laid out certain energy cost saving strategies.
Yes.
And in a graphic form it says use cooling tower economizer to replace chiller cooling, for example. Cost $22,500, savings $5,802. Are those savings annual savings or what? In other words, why would I spend $22,000 or $59,000 to save $14,000?
Yeah, those are annualized savings, and actually those numbers that are on that particular screen are based on where the database starts. So off to the left, when you put in your actual data or information that is specific to you, those numbers will adjust. So they'll actually adjust based on your
and this was then in this case, this was data that arose because somebody put it in for their business.
That's correct.
And this is what it cost them to do to develop a more efficient light source.
That's correct.
And this was the approximate savings that they had.
That's correct.
Based on the size of their installation, the complexity of installing this new technology, and so on and so forth.
That's correct. So it's looking at what is my current costs, and if you practice the strategy that we're giving you, then these are your anticipated savings off of that annualized.
I see. Okay, fine. Now, the other question I had with respect to cost reduction strategies, you mentioned, and this was intriguing to me, the idea that using today's technology, you can sometimes install into your equipment or your processes sensors, software, etc., that will tell you before a failure is going to happen that a failure is likely, and that can save you by causing you to do preventive maintenance ahead of time or replace something ahead of time before the thing goes bust and
Correct.
You've lost 3 days of production.
That's correct.
So give me an example of how that would work in real time, real life.
Yeah, one of the examples that, and this is something that you can actually see as part of a online video with UPS. Most of the equipment that is in a manufacturing process, built into the equipment itself, has sensors, meaning that this piece of equipment
it's like your car today. Your car sends you a message.
Exactly.
Need oil service. Need, check engine light, whatever.
That's correct. And what you get with all this equipment now being assembled together are all these different pieces of equipment that have their own story to tell as far as technology, but when you string them all together and get it all on one dashboard, I guess is the word I want to use, and then be able to see how, in UPS's case, how that parcel is moving from one stage of the manufacturing process to another, and then they get to the one piece of equipment that seems to be holding up things. That piece of equipment is now backing everything up. So I'm going to pinpoint that particular area and fix that well before it overheats or becomes an issue. Now I have to bring the whole entire line down. And then, of course, with a company like UPS, you cannot have that kind of stoppage when you're shipping and moving things, globally. So it's just an idea of being able to see on a centralized board your entire operation. When it's all in green, everything is good. But as soon as something starts to either slow down or prevent the process from continuing, you can easily identify what that is and jump on it immediately.
I just want to get a sort of a general thought from you. You mentioned how for manufacturing companies, small and large, how important energy cost is, and how that can be a kind of low-lying fruit for the entrepreneur to pluck and reduce overhead costs. Talk to me a little bit about that. Put some numbers on it. I mean, so that I get a sense of, if I do this, for example, I was in a potato chip manufacturing plant a couple of months ago.
I saw that.
In southeastern Pennsylvania. And they were able to capture some of the steam and heat release from the fryers and recirculate that to heating the building. Correct. And it saved them a lot of money.
That's a perfect example. And a lot of manufacturers are using these technologies where the waste heat and or wasted energy, or in some cases, if it's an agricultural related or a food processing plant, the actual waste food becomes feedstock for energy production. The energy that it takes to actually operate a manufacturing process is quite significant, especially, again, if it's in a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. Any percentage that you can do to reduce the amount of energy is significant. And when I mean significant, we're talking anywhere in the neighborhood of 10 to possibly 30% reduction in your energy costs by looking at the efficiency of the equipment and then identifying areas where you can then either recapture the waste, reintroduce it back into the manufacturing process, and or add alternative energy items such as the M&M Mars plant up in Hackensack Town, New Jersey, that's covered its entire plant with solar, and that's offsetting the energy costs that they need in order to be in production.
Or in some cases, installing something as simple as a sensor that turns on and off the lights when individuals are there. I was in a large cigar manufacturer's warehouse in Naples, Florida, about a year ago. And there were big parts of that warehouse that people didn't go into every single day or weren't in during all periods of the day. Right. So the lights would turn off after 5 minutes if they did not detect an individual's motion in there, and that reduced their energy use as a result of that. That's simple. Right. It's not stupid. I mean, energy savings aren't stupid. They're common sense.
Right. A lot of this is going back to the conservation age. Can we conserve, and if we don't need it, why are we paying for that? And I think that strategy can be taken into a small operation where every precious dollar counts. So something as simple as a sensor that reduces the lights and or brings down the powerfulness of a piece of equipment if it's not being used at that particular point. So refrigeration units and others that will still do the job but doesn't need to be operating at 100%.
Let me turn to a couple of the questions that have been posted to us here. From Edgar Nokon, and I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, but maybe, Kevin, you'll be more inspired than I. How would you conduct an extensive and comparative market product study with that of Asian competitive strategy in this global market? I sense that what Edgar is asking is, how would you go about comparing a process or a product made here with one and the competitive strategy from people in Asia?
Yeah, that would be an extensive an assessment. It can be done. So, Edgar, I don't want to say that you can't do it, but you'd have to look at the entire process, including the market which that entity is serving, and then look beyond the manufacturing process. So where is it going? What is the demand? And then look at the various production methods that are being used to produce that product. So what I'm saying, it can be done. It's a very good question, but you would actually look at an extensive end-to-end assessment of that item or items and whether or not it's productive in either the U.S. or any market.
It's slightly off point, but Edgar asks also, using social media as a product marketing tool, can it provide a lucrative ROI? Not really the topic of today's seminar, but nonetheless, I'm sure you have a thought on it, Kevin.
Yeah, actually, the social media, as far as exchanging of good information, especially if it's information that's in the realm of non-disclosure. I know that a lot of companies are in a very competitive atmosphere, and telling how I'm more effective than you might not be a good competitive strategy, but none the same, the social media is a good place to exchange good information, and if it helps others get into this arena, then definitely. And then looking at that long-term strategy of how that then reduces my costs, you know, whether I'm investing in the right technologies and what kind of return am I getting on it is something that should be shared, and people have best practice ideas, especially folks that have been in the space, are now out of the space, and they're just willing to offer their insights and opinions.
Yeah, let me ask you a broad and sort of blue sky question about manufacturing in the United States. It seems to me that large manufacturers, but specifically maybe smaller and medium-sized manufacturers, have lots of opportunities in the U.S. that maybe we in the general public kind of overlook. Let me explain a little bit. I can understand why a large company operating at a huge scale, like Nike or Levi Strauss or I don't know, a clothing manufacturer, would find it ultimately preferable to manufacture overseas because of the lower labor cost and the fact that the product doesn't have to be at a certain place at a certain point of time, and you can control that kind of quality. In another setting, however, that may be sort of a sweeter spot for the small and medium-sized manufacturer, it's really important to be closer to your market. It's really important for you to have a high ability to monitor quality and effect quality control. And so you really want that manufacturing here. Am I right about that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think the idea of quality control and being able to have your hands and your workers there as far as making sure and ensuring that the quality of that product from end to end is under your purview. And your customer base is got that high level of expectation that the reason why I'm buying that product is because of that relationship that I have. I can see into your manufacturing process, and just as a consumer, and the quality and the stitching and everything about that product screams of something that I'm intimately familiar with. And a lot of manufacturers are hopefully going back to that, where, you know, I'm more about the quality of the product and the fact that we have workers, if it's U.S. based, that are here and they're responsible for that quality that you're enjoying as a consumer.
I was at a toy manufacturer called Kennex a few months ago, also as it happened in Pennsylvania, and the entrepreneur there said, you know, we manufacture everything here. And I said, why don't you do that? I mean, the toys are made in China. Come on, man. Why aren't you get with it? And he said, no. The reason is that our tolerances, our machines are so fine that we want to control that end to end. And this is where our major market is, and we we can do it here once we get it right, better and cheaper, end to end, when you include shipping costs and transportation and the ability to control the process. We can manufacture more efficiently here. Same thing, I was yesterday at the Ping Golf Club manufacturing facility in Phoenix. Now, they don't actually make many of the golf club heads here. A lot of that is offshored. But the assembly is here. They also have some assembly in Japan and some in England. But the bulk of the assembly is here. Why? And I asked them, why don't you do it all in China?
Right.
Well, we're making these golf clubs to order, and we want to make sure that if you order on a Monday, we can get them to you by Friday so that you can play them on Saturday.
Correct.
And to do that, but it would be cost prohibitive to make them over there. It's more efficient and cheaper for the buyer to have it done here in the United States. So it's an undertold story, I think, about domestic manufacturing.
And I think it's something that the consumers are gravitating towards, and the manufacturers, small business as well as medium to large, that intimate relationship that we have with our customers, they come to expect that from us. This is what makes us who we are, and that's the reason why we have this loyalty with our customer base.
Well, I should point out that the entire Kevin, thank you very much, and it's always good to be with you and to have you here to help us learn about some of these topics, whether it's energy reduction or streamlining supply chain that you can teach us about. And I hope that you and the audience have enjoyed this as well, and we thank you for signing up and participating in today's webinar. I should point out that if you want the presentation, we will have it emailed to you. Anyone who signed up will receive it and a link to the presentation in case there were things that you want to replay or parts of it that you want to use as a resource. And it is also findable on the CNBC.com website. I should also point out that we have a small business town hall coming up in Atlanta in a few days. It's not far off. It's actually June 13th. And tickets to the event are free. And as we say, entrepreneurs wanted. We would love to have you in our audience to discuss some of the questions that the business community faces today. To get information, you can go to townhall@cnbc.com. Tickets to the event are free. I'm not exactly sure where the event is, but I'm sure it has it right there on cnbc.com. It'll tell you exactly where to go if you are able to attend June 13th in Atlanta. Meantime, once again, thank you all for joining us. Kevin Lyons of Rutgers, we thank you as well for being back with us.
Thank you.
We'll see you again soon on another CNBC webinar. For CNBC, I'm Tyler Matheson.